Good afternoon, everyone. If you can hear me, let me know in the chat. Thank you all for tuning in to this Jackson State versus Texas State pregame show. I'm excited to be able to quickly go over what I think are some ways that Jackson State has a possibility to win this matchup. If this is your first time tuning in, or if you've already been here before, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, because I have some great football content coming out through the next couple of months. Thank you, Mr. Sharp. It's exciting. Jackson State has been on the road since week 0, MEAC SWAC Challenge in Atlanta, Georgia, then to Miami, Florida, to take on the FAMU Rattlers, then to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to take on the Southern Jaguars. And now we are in San Marcos, Texas. And this is the last game that we have before our first home game. A little bit of things to get out the way. I will be having a live tonight covering the Jackson State Tigers versus Texas State Bobcats. I will be having a live chat. There's quotations around chat, but make sure if you're available, that you can tune in. You can be watching. Turn the TV on to ESPN Plus if you're already subscribed. Go ahead and turn that on. Make sure that you're streaming the game, but you can come in to the chat just so we can talk about the game. And this is going to be a great matchup. I'm excited to see. I have a poll in the chat whether or not people think this is going to be a defensive game, or do you think that this will actually be an offensive battle? We have two great quarterbacks that have actually taken on each other in previous play in the SEC, and that's TJ Finley and Jason Brown. They had a matchup against each other. This was actually to go to postseason play. And the person that won that battle was actually Jason Brown. That was one of the key games that he had while on the South Carolina roster against Auburn and TJ Finley. And he actually came out with a win. So, is Jackson State going to be able to replicate that win, TJ Finley versus Jason Brown? Are they going to be able to replicate it? Or is this a game where you want to be able to let your starters play a little bit, but you don't want to get any unnecessary injuries? So I would love to, after I do my slides, I'm going to open up the chat just so that we can talk about it. Because for me, when I look at this game, I do think that Jackson State definitely has the ability to be competitive and possibly beat Texas State, especially after looking at their stats from last week. But this game, when in the grand scheme of things, Mario says we're going for the win. And I'm saying, yes, let's go for the win, but let's not sacrifice our young men while doing it. So these are the most important takeaways that I have for this game. The starters are healthy, the depth is healthy, our quarterbacks are healthy, and that we maintain dominance for SWAC play. So I want the student athletes to be able to showcase their ability to go against an FBS level talent, but not compromise their team's health. The last couple of weeks, everybody has been seeing that we've had some issues with that left tackle. And it actually it's almost like a nagging injury, meaning all of your anybody who plays you, they know that you're weak on that side. And so they continue to aggravate it. And you have to figure out a way in such a short time, because Jackson State, once again, they've been traveling here, there, everywhere. You have to figure out a way to fix that within 4 or 5 days. It's more like 4 days, because you're going to be back traveling. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Quavion Davis and his particular impact on this team. The reason why I want to talk about Quavion is because they put him into the game last week, and he held his own. Quavion Davis, he is a freshman, so we could start right there. He's 6'7". His weight on here is a 350. I would imagine after doing strength and conditioning and going through, he might be down to maybe what do you guys think? 330, 335. He's out of Louisville, Texas. This is the same blue blood program that Ethan Terrell is coming out of. And Quavion played a critical role in Ethan Terrell's ability to be a great quarterback and the ability to protect his quarterback. So Quavion stepped up in a major way last week. So I feel like, and Mr. Owens, I know that everyone is going to play a critical part, but the reason why I feel like Quavion is going to get tested today and they are going to be pinpointing Quavion is, number one, he's a freshman. And number two, the last, I would say every game since South Carolina, every team has tried to get on that left-hand side. We've seen Southern do it. We saw FAMU really collapse the pocket just by tackling that side. So as Mr. Walker said, trench play is going to be critical, because if it's the X's and O's and we're looking at what we have in our wide receiver room, in our tight end room, offensively, I feel like Jackson State is even keel with regard to the skilled sets. It's really the offensive line and the defensive line. A lot of people are talking about the three-man front on defense. They need to play a 4-3 or a 5-2 or other sets that allow them to blitz. So when I looked up, I tried to figure out, like, why does the defensive coordinator keep running this 3-2-5 defense? So the 3-2-5 defense, it's supposed to be a variation of the 3-4 and the 3-3-5. And it's supposed to be able to confuse the offense. And they're supposed to be actually blitzing along with this defense. So if you're setting in a 3-2-5 and then you have the hybrid linebackers like Philip Webb come down into and make it a 4-3, I mean, that's probably what they should do. So Solomon Rogers and Philip Webb, you're supposed to be able to kind of conceal what type of defensive scheme you're running. I think that that's going to be critical. Blitzing. And I don't know if maybe the defensive coordinator wanted to try something different. I feel like our student athletes have the speed. We've seen Devontae Davis. We've seen Jeremiah Williams. We need for these edge rushers to dominate today. The only way you guys are going to be able to rattle the quarterback is if those defensive ends come to play. Y'all got to get used to the three-man front. They run it when teams are going strictly pass, and it isn't going away. So the only problem that I have with the three-man front is it hasn't worked relatively well against like FAMU. It should have been a dead giveaway just by how they were talking and how they recruited that they were going to be running the ball. When I was talking about, I went on the OG Strike Zone right before the game happened, and I said, I think that FAMU is going to run the ball today. So when you are having a run the ball situation, it definitely needs to be a 4-3 and a 5-2 to stop the run. Iceberg Slim, this will be a big game for Mulligan. We're going to shock the world and win. I also wanted to acknowledge some of the other running backs in our room, because Desmond Moultrie surprised quite a few folks. It was kind of like when you have that extra, when you're playing spades and they don't know, they think that they counted all the cards, and you come out with that extra spade on the table. Desmond Moultrie performed really well against Southern. As everybody knows, J.D. Martin is out. I think he has 2 more weeks that he's out due to an injury. And Desmond Moultrie definitely stepped up to the plate last week. Okay, let me go back to my slides. So once again, for me, Me personally, I want everybody to be healthy. I want everybody to get the ability to showcase their talent and show that we're able to go against FBS level talent. But I don't want us to compromise our team's health for this particular game. So once again, just to let everybody know, we are going to be having a live chat, and I say that in quotations, tonight. The game is starting at 7:30 Central, so it'll be starting at 8:15 Eastern time. I'm on the East Coast. Well, I'm in North Carolina, but anyway, I'm in Eastern Standard Time. So now I'm gonna pull up some of Texas State's their stats as a team, individual, game by game, and I think that shows how competitive we are and how closely the gap isn't that big. Mr. G says JD will be out longer than that. Okay. And so I'm just repeating what he said on his post. So we're just hoping that he gets well and has a speedy recovery. Let's go ahead. And can I say this? For me, Jackson State has done a phenomenal job being on the road and being up 2-1. A phenomenal job. I think for us, and I may be wrong here, but for us, when we talk about rivalries, the importance of winning games, and TC Taylor being a first-time head coach, him going to Southern and winning in their house was huge. Huge for us to be able to convert that particular game into a big, huge win. Big, huge win. So Texas State puts up about 27 points a game. Their opponents put together about 25 points. So basically that means that, you know, they've had pretty close games. They don't have that many penalties on, it looks like they don't have that many penalties. So if you see that right there, one of the things that Jackson State had some trouble with is the penalties. Just boneheaded mistakes that when you're going against a better team, you cannot make those types of mistakes. So in South Carolina State, we saw a couple of boneheaded mistakes. In Southern, I want to say one of the players got ejected for targeting. So that was another penalty. That these are types of mistakes that you cannot have against a FBS caliber team. You can't make those types of mistakes because those types of teams will capitalize off of it. Marvin says, I prefer our linebacker already on the line and not give the other team's O-line time to block them and create gaps or running lanes. So I wonder if, and Mr. Sharp, you can comment, or everybody can comment in the chat, which linebackers are you speaking of specifically? So Philip Webb is the hybrid linebacker, defensive end. I don't see Isaac Peppers being on the line. Josh Clark could possibly be a linebacker that's already on the line, but for the most part, Josh Clark, Isaac Peppers, Khalil Arrington, they do a good job. And from what I've been told, Texas State is a fast-paced offense, which Jackson State against South Carolina State was a fast-paced offense. So that's something that we need to continue. And that is the no huddles. They definitely need to continue that. So as far as rushing goes, it looks like the yards gain are 247 versus 356. So It's probably easier if I go game by game, just to see, because this last game against UTSA, University of Texas San Antonio, they didn't do very well. So against Baylor, they scored 42 points versus 31. At UTSA, they didn't even score 2 touchdowns. And I don't know if UTSA is maybe a big rivalry for them or what. But TJ Finley was the quarterback at that particular game. And it looks like they didn't do very well. So I'm hoping that Jackson State is able to replicate that. It looks like, as far as rushing, they had a total net of 31 yards out of 29 attempts. So that means that their run game is abysmal. They gained 76 yards and lost 45. So the run game should be non-existent. Passing, it looks like TJ Finley passed for 211 yards. He was 16 of 30. So he has a completion percentage of 53%. And he didn't get any touchdowns. So whatever UTSA was doing, whether it be blitzing or confusing the quarterback, they basically shut down the offense. It does look like they did have a penalty, 6 penalties for 40 yards. They're not good with punting. If you guys look at that punting, which it's going to definitely be one of our key things for tonight's game. Do you see where it says 50 plus yards? Neither one of the teams had any punts for 50 plus yards. We all know Matt Knoll is between 40 and 60 yards every punt. So that means that basically pinning the football in the Texas State's red zone, that's going to be a key play. Defensively, Matt Knoll is going to be very important to this game. Now, one thing that we've struggled with, and it's not a good feeling at all, is our extra points. It's not a good feeling to miss key points, like especially in the event that it's a close game. Gerardo Baeza has missed some key points. And I don't want for that to be the case today either. Field goals made. It looks like they made both of their field goals. But like I said, us missing, absolutely terrible. Like that's something that we cannot do. So let's talk about Jackson State secondary. I thought that our secondary was letting some throws happen against Blood and Southern that they should have not been able to get that. Like for a minute there, we had Blood looking like a decent quarterback. And Mr. Allen, I wanted to say that we did have a kicker, but I don't think so. Which, if in the event that we don't have another kicker, that's one of those situations where Gerardo Baeza is going to have to, he's going to have to basically perform. Our team is really, really rooting on you. And we don't. We only have 2 kickers on the team because we lost that one kicker to basically he wasn't eligible to be on the team. But Gerardo Baeza and Matt Knoll. And Matt Knoll is a punter. Like, that's his thing. He's a defensive punter. And I know that there was a situation, I think last week, where somebody ran into our punter. And so for him, his most important role is to make sure to pin that ball when he's on the defensive side, when he's punting, to make sure to get it between the red zone. And Mr. Walker says that's our DC. Our DBs can't be used as boundary corners. They need to play press man with safety help over the top. And you know what? Sometimes I feel like our defensive coordinator tries to do the opposite of what we were doing last year. But for the defensive coordinator, I know he wants to run his own defense. He wants to run it how he wants to run it. But some things, they just work. I did see a lot of times that our DBs were getting cooked. And if you're playing boundary or you're playing off man and they jet off, you're not going to be as ready as you are if you're playing man coverage and you're basically following his movements. So I'm hoping that they'll adjust those defensive schemes. And the kicker just needs to either kick in the end zone or kick some balls out of bounds so no one can run it back. And I don't think that I'm not going to say they aren't a threat, but I did see that they did have a lot of fair catches. So does that mean that team did a really good job, or did they just not? So it says that Texas State had 5 fair catches, 1 inside the 20. And they had 7 punts for 293 yards. So that means that there was a lot of stops that were being made, and they had to punt the ball. Average kickoff return is 29.8 yards. So I would say that UTSA is not a team where you would just be blown away by them. So that's why I think Jackson State can definitely be competitive. Because based off of this game, they did say on the website and after doing some research that it looked like a totally different team than played last week versus the one that played against Baylor. Let's go look at the Baylor stats, because I don't want to basically ignore and say, oh, they don't run the ball, or oh, the quarterback's not that good, because as we know, Jason Brown did phenomenal against South Carolina State, didn't do well against FAMU, and did okay against Southern. So this looks like TJ Finley was once again the main quarterback. It does look like a lot of his passes are short passes. So right here we have a 10-yard pass from TJ Finley, a 27-yard pass from TJ Finley, 26-yard pass from TJ Finley. So it does look like the types of passes that TJ Finley is making are intermediate types of passes. They're not long, air raid, go all the way down the length of the field. So with that being said, and because, and that's not to say that TJ Finley is not a quarterback that will do a deep throw, but just based off of his win at Baylor, and if we're looking at the types of passes that he was making, we have intermediate throws. So what that means is the safeties need to be aware that it's a chance that he'll be throwing in the intermediate area so they can be able to pick it off. And I also, I don't know. I feel like with that Baylor game, Baylor must have had an off day because I'm not seeing anything that's just blowing my mind with Texas State that would account for. It does say Ishmael had a 65-yard run. So for the game against Baylor, Ishmael was a problem. That's a running back for Texas State. So they need to be mindful of Ishmael not making mistakes by missing tackles. That's going to be very important. I'm glad that we have Huggins back. John Huggins had some great plays against Southern. So I'm excited to see that particular matchup because he has done a phenomenal job of standing in the gap and breaking up some really important plays. Now I'm going to try to pull up Jackson State's stats from last week. As many people know, there was some issues with the updates on the stats. So hopefully they've got those updated by now because I think they said that some of the stuff was wrong. So I don't know if they had the chance to fix those or not. But we did see out the gate for that Southern game a 64-yard pass from Harold Blood. Like, what? How? Y'all had Harold Blood out here airing it out like he was Spencer Rattler or something. Like, come on now. Those types of mistakes you cannot be making. Absolutely not. We were able to, once again, Desmond Moultrie came up in a huge way. And a surprising running back that came in and you know, scored right away. Rico Powers has been consistent each game. He's been able to take down a huge pass from Jason Brown. So we'll be looking forward to see Rico. Irv Mulligan, once again, he has played a significant role in the run game. Alabama is done. Saban pulled him last week. Alabama is done. I guess Alabama's losing. No wonder they've been complaining about the transfer portal. Andre Hunt, that was one of the biggest plays. Was the Andre Hunt 75-yard run. Once again, one thing that I like about Jason Brown is that if you're open, he does not mind getting you the ball to make a play. That was it. Where's the actual stats? Let's go to the next page. So that was the stats. Let me go to the next page. Net yards rushing. So we did put up 220 yards rushing. I like the fact that we're a balanced offense. So if Jason Brown is on his stuff and he's throwing passes and the wide receivers are catching him, we're going to be throwing passes. If we need to do the run game, we'll be the run game. So I like the versatility of Coach Harris. We had 232 yards gained, 3 rushing touchdowns, and only lost 11 yards. Net yards passing, 184. I would have liked to have seen Jason Brown be able to convert more touchdowns. Hopefully he'll be able to get it going. 27 points, I don't think that's going to be enough for tonight's game. And Mr. Walker says, if JSU wins, we'll have to establish the run and run rollouts to be used in the form of West Coast offense. That's where Jason is most comfortable. So I did notice that in the South Carolina State game, pretty much for the first, especially the first quarter and the first half, we were running the ball a lot. I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be a run. Is this going to be a run first type of offense? What is this? What is this? And to my surprise, all of a sudden, Jason Brown comes out throwing it like nobody's business. I like starting out fast tempo with a lot of running. I like that type of momentum building. So this is the thing that I want to talk about, which is the defensive line. I think it's important to talk about the defensive line because it looks like there was a post that was floating around Twitter, and it was basically a picture of Texas State's offensive line, and it was like, oh my God. Like, look at that offensive line. But when I see how they performed against UTSA, I'm kind of like, is it fool's gold or what? Because TJ Finley didn't even score a touchdown. It was all rushing. So that's my only question. Is it fool's gold? I guess we're getting ready to find out real quick what it is and what it's not. Because just because they're big doesn't necessarily mean that they can't be moved around. It also does not mean that they're fast. You can be big all day, but if you're not fast and the defensive edge or defensive tackle is able to get through, you can't fix that. I'm going to try to pull up that particular tweet where they talk about the Texas State offensive line, which, yeah, they are some big boys. Are you going to be able to get through that? So with, I'll just talk about our past defensive line. Like with James Houston, he has that bend. And the bend is able to basically, I don't know what it was. It was almost like Mortal Kombat or something. He just sideswiped the offensive line. And it's amazing to see that stuff that he was doing in Jackson State, how it translates to the NFL. And we probably didn't even know how great that bend was until you see it on Sundays. It's like, wow. So that type of talent, that's not something that you can teach. That's just something that it comes out and it's amazing. So if we can get our defensive tackles and defensive edge to make plays like that, where they're able to get to the quarterback and get him uncomfortable, I think we'll be able to definitely sack the quarterback a couple times, get him uncomfortable. Because it looks like TJ Finley, he was throwing at about 53% last week. If you're able to get him off of his square, then you'll be able to lower that percentage. Because UTSA is not like Alabama or Georgia. That's not to say that they're not talented, but it's the talent gap if we're going to compare Jackson State to Texas State or UTSA. Furthermore, I feel like Texas State and Jackson State have been battling for some of the same players. So it's been Jackson State and Texas State battling out, and we've been competitive with Texas State. I'm forgetting. Does anybody know that quarterback that decided to decommit from Jackson State and go to Texas State? I want to say it was PJ Hatter. That's who it was. PJ Hatter. And so he decided to go to Texas State. But once again, it's just the fact that we're even in those conversations with FBS level talent speaks volumes to Jackson State's program. So this right here is the Texas State O-line. So the left tackle is 6'5". The left guard is 6'6". The center is 6'6". The right guard is 6'7". And the right tackle is 6'4". Let me see if I can pull up our roster. Because they were like, oh my God, that's so scary. Well, did anybody line up our offensive line? I guess I probably should do one of those myself. So Deontay Graham is 6'5", 307 pounds. And I know that's one of our starters. Kirk Ford is 6'5", 308 pounds. I'm just doing offensive line versus offensive line. Sear Riley and Evan Henry are both 6'4". DeAndre Towns Blue is 6'5". Quavion Davis is 6'7". So we have comparable offensive line. Our offensive line is comparable. FAMU was pushing y'all O-line around. So FAMU was taking advantage of our left tackle and that breakdown with the left tackle. If you're putting pressure on the left tackle, that also puts pressure on the left guard. Basically, if you're able to compromise the offensive line in any type of way, it's going to affect the whole offensive line. So I wouldn't say it was more of a pushing y'all O-line around as it was that there was a break in the offensive line. Anytime you have a break in the offensive line and you show a point of weakness and there's someone that's exploiting that part, it's going to cause confusion on the offensive line. It's going to cause the breakdown. So, and once again, this particular offensive line went against UTSA last week, and TJ Finley wasn't even able to score a touchdown. So, is the game playing or paused? The game is not on. The game will not be on till tonight at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central. So the Texas State game is not on. This was against UTSA. It's interesting that they showed this. This was actually at UTSA where they lost 20-13. So it was a defensive battle. And as far as like who they have. We have a good defensive. Let me see if I can pull up our D line. Let's see. I do not know if Coinus is playing today. I have not heard. I know that last week he did have to sit out on the sidelines early in the game. I don't know if he has an injury or anything. But I would venture to say, like, you can just basically pick and choose who you want on that line. I would like for Jackson State to basically keep them fresh, keep them rotated. I know a lot of folks said that they did not like any of the 3-2-5s or 3-3-5s. You guys don't like that. This is the one that they used a lot, though. Jeremiah Williams, Devontae Davis, and Coinus Miller or Tyus Martin. And then Philip Webb and Isaac Peppers, or Philip Webb and Josh Clark in the middle. What do you guys think about the 3-2-6 defense? I feel like if we're able to do that, keep the offense at bay, I need for our secondaries to step to the plate tonight. So not just certain players, but I need all of them to step to the plate. No passing interference. Kevrick Wiggins and Isaiah Guthrie's I want to say they had a couple of passing interference calls last weekend. I'm getting ready to drop the StreamYard so you can come on and share your thoughts regarding this particular defensive scheme. Mr. Walker says we need to run a 4-2-5. And I don't know why he doesn't run a 4-2-5. I have no idea why he doesn't. I do have some players to watch that I feel like they're going to be very influential on the game. Jaheim Hazel, oh my goodness, he was everywhere last week. Everywhere. Probably one of the best corners for last week was Jaheim Hazel. He made some really good plays. And then, Southern had some calls that weren't going our way. So Jaheim Hazel had an instance where he basically intercepted the ball, and we had to actually challenge the ruling because the ruling was that he was out. So Jaheim Hazel, look for him to have a big impact on tonight's game. We all know Irv Mulligan and what he's been doing. A phenomenal job. Beast mode. He just has a motor that doesn't stop running. Anybody who would compare last year's rushing to this year's rushing, Irv Mulligan replaces Savion Wilkerson. He replaces him. And not only that, our offensive coordinator is not scared to do what it takes to win. And he's not necessarily trying to make any one player look good. So it's combination offense. And I like that. DeAndre Towns Blue on the offensive line. Definitely need him to step up. The trenches is probably going to be one of the biggest things for tonight. And when Jackson State goes back to the drawing board, it's always going to be about that trench play. It always is. And with recruiting and then getting through spring camp and then you getting through summer camp, fall camp. So there's so many different time periods where you're going to be losing players and recruiting players, adding last minutes to the roster. And then you just never know who is going to be at that final drop off. So there were some folks that we thought, oh, okay, we know they're going to be on the roster. And then last minute, they weren't eligible to play. Evan Henry is our center. And I want to commend Evan Henry because he has stepped up in a major way. When we lost Zach Bro and he decided that he was going to enter the transfer portal, Evan Henry stepped up. He wasn't normally playing center, but he took over that role. And I love his work ethic and the fact that he has came to play and he's really stepped up into that leadership role, especially on the offensive line. Khalil Arrington, a lot of folks, you might not even know the impact that he's had. I'll say that he's kind of like a silent assassin. In week 0 versus South Carolina State, Khalil Arrington had 7 tackles. And he's been flying across. He's been really stepping it up, making lots of tackles. I want to say that he was also a tackle leader in last week's game as well. I'll have to look that up because once again, Southern's like the stats, they were kind of messed up. But Khalil Arrington has really stepped to the plate as far as being there as a linebacker. I don't know if any of you guys will, I'm pretty sure everybody saw the interception by BJ Washington last week. And the number 3 on Southern, I guess he was trying to touch him to make sure he was down. Khalil Arrington walked over there and said, okay, you can get off of him. And yes, Arrington is a Hendrick recruit. So he is a Hendrick recruit. Devontae Davis as well. Khalil Arrington, he's been see ball, get ball all season long. So look out for him. That's number 15, Khalil Arrington. We didn't see that much with the utilizing 2 tight ends or 3 tight ends. I really think that for this particular week, I'm hoping that Coach Harris re-implements the tight ends, 2 tights, 3 tights into the game. Very important to replicate that. The tight ends play a very integral role in our offense. Is Batman on 2 deep roster? Are you talking about Bruce Mitchell? I'm not for certain. Solomon Rogers also as well. And I want to commend our tight ends because they have been doing, not even just our tight ends, all of our offense has played integral parts in blocking and making way for their teammates when the teammate has the ball. You'll see wide receivers making plays, tight ends. It doesn't matter. They're all making plays. We've seen Isaac Peppers work Of course, this is UAPB transfer, and I expect for him to have nothing less than another stellar performance tonight. I want to see the linebackers close those holes, like everybody was saying, with the run game. I need to see them close those holes faster or tackle them faster. So that's just my little spiel on different players that have impact, and we're definitely going to be looking for them tonight. Once again, I'm excited. I'm going to get off of here. I have about an hour and 45 minutes. An hour and 45 minutes before I will be going live tonight with the live chat, and I'm putting that in quotations. So don't forget, there's some really big games going on today in SWAC play. I was watching Grambling's game earlier. I need that final score, and it needs to have Grambling winning, dominating. They scored. Let's see what the finishing. It should be over by now. Oh, thank you, Jesus. The Tigers are cruising. Grambling State 58, Florida Memorial 16. They're in the fourth quarter. About 6 minutes left. Thank you, Jesus, because listen. Here's Mr. Walker. Hey, Mr. Walker, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm just rambling at this point, talking about
Oh
the
no, we
Grambling
gotta come on and
Tigers.
talk a little football,
Yeah.
I think the keys to the game for us is we're gonna have to on offense, we're gonna have to, of course, run the ball. That's a given. But when Jason Brown is at his best, from what I've noticed about his game, is when we do QB rollouts, left side, right side.
Mm-hmm.
um, that's when he's at his best. That's when he's at his most accurate. Because one thing that I do like about him, he always keeps his eyes downfield, and that's a good. You could tell that he's gone through some great training as far
Mm-hmm.
as that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with the inferiority of our line, what we're gonna have to do is do check downs. We got to do the dig routes. We got to do the bubble screens. But what I notice about Texas State linebacking core, if I was an OC, if I was Maurice Harris, I'm a wheel route Texas State ass to death.
Mm.
I'm a wheel route their ass to death, because one reason why I'm gonna do that is because they're strong on the defensive line. They are. But that linebacking crew is that kind of so that's why I'm a wheel route. And then also what can be a strength, which I still have not seen Coach Harris do it, although he has the players to do it. We gotta feature those tight ends because
We see them do it in the South Carolina State game, and then it
uh-huh.
just kind of disappeared.
Yeah, because we got the best tight end in FCS.
Right.
I mean, hands down. I mean, we got the best tight end in the FCS. So why not feature? And then you also have a speedy tight end that can block in Jency Riley as well. See, if I
Mm-hmm.
was them, I mean, I'm running mash protection, but that wheel route, oh, man,
So do you
I'm gonna
think they
light
could
them up.
do two, or do you think they can do three tight ends? So Hayden, Riley, and Stevens in one?
That's more like a goal line kind of structure. That's more like a goal line with one wide. You got one wide, of course, you're gonna have Rico, in that package. But like I said, I would just run a dual tight end set.
And Rico
And
does really good with intermediate passes. I know Jason Brown loves
mhm.
to pop it up and throw it to him far. I feel
Oh, he's the
like
best route runner in the SWAC. I mean, he's the best route runner in the SWAC.
right.
He's the best. I mean, now you got a lot of speed guys, like those two guys, the Rat Boys down there in FAMU. But as far as running just pure routes, yeah,
Right.
Rico Powers is he far and beyond all the wide receivers, and but like I said, FAMU they do got guys that are shifty,
Right.
that shifty kind of, but they burners too. They
I
stop
think
and
we
go
saw
kind of
that in
receivers.
Andre
Yeah.
Hunt. We saw his elusiveness and
Oh, that's
shift.
the yeah, that's the fastest wide receiver in the SWAC, hands down.
Right.
Hands down. Yeah,
Right.
and we can, and FAMU, Southern, whomever, we can debate that all day because nobody on your team is running a sub three, a sub 4.29, 4.3, 4.31. No way, no way, no
Mm-hmm.
way, no way. He runs like a he has that Randy Moss kind of
Right.
deal. He reminds me a lot of Randy Moss. That's if we get the ball in his hands, but
Mm-hmm.
now from a defensive standpoint, we need to go 4-5 and just allow the two roamers to be in space, Peppers and Asayas.
What
One
about
guy playing
what about Huggins?
well, see, Huggins, he's a finisher. He's a finisher. Anything dealing with the tight end, anything dealing with the slot, put him there. Because in your dime packages, he gonna come up and just he gonna end some days. He's definitely gonna end some days. So I mean, but as far as coverage, I would definitely have Sayers, Guthrie, and Peppers. But what I would do, I would switch it up. I would actually shoot Peppers in some of those gaps because he
Mm-hmm.
can tackle.
He
He can
definitely does
tackle.
tackle really
Yeah,
well.
he can tackle. He can tackle very well, and he's not
Another
necessarily.
hybrid linebacker is, of course, Philip Webb. They kind of have they can put him on the edge, but he can also fill in that gap right there.
He can. He can play OLB. He can. He can. He really can. With his motor, I mean, and his strength, I mean, he should have a good day today. I'm looking for him to have a good day. But Hazel is that guy.
Absolutely. I
Yeah,
absolutely
he
you
is
won't get
that
any type
guy.
of
Yeah,
and
he's that.
him and Irv are both from Wofford. They're both from Wofford. So they both came
Yeah.
from that school and they have both been impact players. So we need to be spinning the block on our recruiting out of Wofford because they've done amazing. Jaheim Hazel on the defensive side, and then Irv Mulligan on the offensive side. I would say Jaheim by far has probably been the best cover corner for us at Jackson State.
Well, he's an all around dog. I mean, he's a playmaker. You know, um, he's just that guy. He's shifty. He understands the game. He understands coverages. But my only knock with our OC is that we played too far off the ball. I mean, allow Hazel, allow K5, because see, K5 excels in press man. That's why even last year, he was on the field and he started a bunch of games because he
Mm-hmm.
understands the concept of press man. That's why if you look back, at the Florida A&M game from last year, he was so smart and decisive that he was actually baiting Musa. Like, okay, throw to my side, throw to my side, throw to my side. And you saw he had like 3 pass breakups and then he had a pick six.
Mm-hmm.
But that was because of press man. He's a press man corner. He's not a boundary corner. I think our DC, he's still trying to bring in his system, and I get it. He wants to be known for what he does. But by him being a defensive line guy, that's where my problem comes in because most pure defensive line coaches that I know, they're gonna have a 4-man front.
Right. And for
And they're
me,
gonna
I
have
think
they're
I,
gonna
I
have
think he
blitzing
doesn't want
linebackers
to
too.
replicate. He doesn't necessarily want to replicate the blitzing, but if the blitzing is what worked, and then that's what needs to be replicated. You can blitz your own type of way. Blitz on first and third.
Right.
Uh,
But see,
Send
the personnel that he has, I think he's trying to teach a brand new philosophy. But those guys were recruited to Jackson State to be blitzers, to
right. So like
run in and
Antonio
out on a
Doyle,
formation. Yeah, yeah.
but you know what? When he actually did implement the blitz late in the game, you could definitely see that it was working. And so it's like, well, why haven't you been blitzing the whole game? You don't want to step on the defensive coordinator's shoes, but it's or his toes, but it's like, look, out the game, out you don't want to wait late in the game to start blitzing. You want to blitz
No.
early because if you
Mhm.
blitz early, you're going to get the quarterback rattled. If you get the quarterback rattled, then he might throw up a Hail Mary, and that's when our
Pick
DBs
six.
need to be able to come away with that pick six.
And they can. I mean, those are the type of corners that we have. I mean, you're looking at K5, you're looking at just all of them really. I mean, those are pick six guys, but they pick six guys when they play in man. You got to use your personnel, which you have, So, and if you think about it, those are the best corners to have. Guys that
Right,
can play press man. That's what
right,
you want.
right, right.
That's what I would want as a defensive coordinator. And then also,
Do you think those are schemes that can be like
implemented. Yeah,
not necessarily implemented because at best they have what 4 days between the next game. It's
right.
literally 4 games before the next game.
Hmm.
So for us on the outside looking in, we're like, your left tackle, you need to take care of him. Your left tackle, you need to take care of him. I think they were talking about the left tackle since after the South Carolina State game.
Hmm.
And they literally switched to Quavion or Quay Davis
Hmm.
last game.
Hmm.
And they still had Cameron James starting.
Hmm.
And do I think that that could have made an impact on the FAMU game?
Hmm.
Possibly, but we made a lot of like mistakes that like the long snapper, the fumbled ball. So there's a lot of things that were messed up. But could that have changed the outlook of the game? Because once FAMU knew that we were weak on that left side, it was kind of like attacking that left side broke down the whole offensive line at that point.
I totally agree. I think it would have been a different outcome in my opinion because um with the what they did was, I mean, they just played the game. You know how it you know how it's supposed to be played. I mean, you see a weakness and you attack it. So
Right,
what to answer your question, what I would have done, it goes back to what I was saying. When you have the type of tight ends that we have, I mean, I can go too wide, but I mean, I can go 3, 4 wide, but why? Why should
right,
I?
right,
When I could just run if I know that a team is gonna blitz me, then okay, that's fine. I'm gonna run a dual tight end set. So that means I got 5 blockers, and then I got one that can run the seam. Because I have two tight ends that can catch the ball and can take it to the house. So that plays into my favor. That plays into my favor. I mean, even if I'm running a dual tight end set out the pistol formation, that plays into my favor because I have two great tight ends that can do so. That's not only good blockers, but you see both of those guys, they got, as a young folks say, they got hands. So that plays into my favor.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then once I'm wearing you down with that, then I mean I can go back to the normalities, and then I'm just gonna run the ball down your throat because your defensive line is tired because now you got your rush ends and your OLBs. They're chasing tight ends all day. I see that your defense got their hands on their hip. Because see, that's also a little nuance. When you see the whole defense have their hands on their hip,
Right.
they're breathing hard.
Right.
Now it's time to run. It's time to go smash mouth. It's time to go smash mouth then. Because when they got their hands on their hips, I mean, that's just letting you know that they're getting worn down. And then you just go smash mouth and just run it up their throat. But I think this is a winnable game for Jackson State. I just hope that Maurice Harris calls a great game. I hope that we do have the bull rush going with Devontae Davis, because I really think that he's one of the top defensive tackles in all of SES, and I would use that to my advantage. I would use that. I'm lining them up 3 technique, and that center, although the center is good for Texas State, but they're big. But again, I want to see, can they take the bull rush the entire game instead of just mauling people. So that's where
Right.
the speed, and the power comes in.
Right.
So that would be my game plan. I mean, it would be easy. I mean, it would be easy. And like I said, on offense, I mean, because they're so strong and stringent on the defensive line, and that's gonna leave that seam open. So I'm running all kind of rollouts. I'm telling my wide receivers to do dig routes. I'm telling them, and then of course I'm running guys down the seam.
And I can understand why the offensive coordinator, the O line, why they kept trying to get Cameron James to be that guy. He's 6'8", 320 pounds. So when you got someone like that height, it's like all you need is the talent. I'm not going to say where is the talent. I feel like he needs to be developed more. But I can understand why they're trying to pressure 6'8", 320 pounds. You should be able to block. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So they put Quavion Davis in replace of him. He's 6'7", 350 pounds, but he is a freshman
Right,
out of Louisville High School.
right, right, right. I mean, like I said, I think the line is gonna be fine versus these guys. I really do. I think our line is gonna be fine. I really, really do. I really, really do. I think by putting that freshman over there, um, bringing him in,
Wade
that's
Davis
really.
got a big game today. He's in the state of Texas. I'm sure
But
they're
he
going
can
to practice.
handle it. But
He
he
can
can
handle
handle
it.
it
And
though.
he's been
Yeah,
at
he can handle it.
The
No,
Louisville
he can
High
handle
School.
it.
They've had some
He
high
can handle
level of play.
it. Yeah, he
Um,
can handle
Sear Riley, he was injured for, I guess, the FAMU game, right? Which
it.
game was it? I think it was the
Fairly.
FAMU game.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I think, like I said, I think we found our guy of the future with that young man. I think we found our guy. I mean, I'm seeing him, that's a future first team all SWAC O lineman there.
Right.
He has good
Um,
feet, he has good hands. He knows how to stabilize the block. See, that's the key to playing, uh, as they call it, the blind side. Well,
right. Right.
but you have to learn how to shuck. We call it the shuck maneuver. He knows how to shuck. The 2 hand shuck, and he's pretty good at that. So especially being so young. But I think what I like about him is he's confident, and he has a mean streak too. And that's
Mm,
that's what I love for my old lineman, defense lineman have. I want
right.
them I don't care if you're 216 pounds. If you mean and just them young boys used to love to fight when they were little. Yeah, give me
Right.
those guys. Give me
Right.
those. That's what I want. Because they're gonna have a mean streak. They don't like to get beat. So, and he had a great grade, blocking grade this last game. He really did. because after a while, as you saw, that rush in for Southern was taken completely out the game when he was in the game. Because notice, at first Southern got back in the backfield, but when they put him in, notice they didn't get back to him more time.
Right. Right.
So I
Um,
think that he's a good one.
what do you think about our special teams? Like, how
Gotta
are we
get
gonna?
better.
Because
Gotta get better.
we literally only do have Gerardo Baeza and Matt Knoll on our team. Like, that's it.
Yeah. I we just got to score touchdowns and keep the field goals within 35 and below.
I mean, he literally was missing those.
Yeah, I think, but it depends on if you going he's a great he's not a excellent hash kicker,
No,
but if you can get him, front, maybe
no.
if you can get front, go front, then he can kick it down the pipe. I've seen him do that, but he has to work on his hash kicking. And also, one thing that we need to do is, on our special teams unit on the kickoff and punt return, we need to put some of our starters in special teams, because those guys, they know how to hit and they know how to cover ground. And I think a lot of that has to do with they're just putting I'm not gonna say bench riders, but they're putting like the second and third string in on special teams, kickoff and
They are not. It's
punt return.
literally Grayson Thompson is a holder, our quarterback, and he's been
Yeah,
holding since last year.
yeah.
We
I'm
do
talking about
have.
on the coverage plays.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about on the coverage plays. Like, when we kicking the ball off and things like that, you know, he, he, we just gotta learn to put. We gotta have like a Peppers on kickoff coverage. We gotta have a Hazel on kickoff coverage. We gotta have an Arlington on kickoff coverage. You got
I
to
think
do that
also
because
one thing that's really at our disadvantage is we don't have our full arsenal going on the road, going to FAMU, going to Miami, going to Atlanta, going to San Marcos and Baton Rouge. There's a set number of players that you're able to take.
that's true.
So
That's
when
true.
we come out against Bethune Cookman, it's almost going to be like it's a totally different team, because now you're no longer having to cut your roster down to a certain number that's going to be traveling. You're able to include everybody, and we should be able to see that pickup. Um,
Hmm.
and our long snapper is Avery Salerno.
I think a long snapper's good. I think he's fine.
And
Yeah, he's
he
fine.
actually used to play linebacker.
Yeah, because one thing that I always notice with a great long snapper is when they hike it and it's a spiral.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you look for, because the spiral brings the pinpoint to the holder, and also it brings it back to the punter as well. So when you see that spiral, it's kind of like a back blast. It just comes out, and then
Right.
you see that spiral coming. It's easy to catch the ball that way. So I think he's pretty good. I think
Player
Coach TC did a good
player
one.
of the game prediction on the offense and the defense before we wrap it up, because I'm gonna have to be back on here in less than what we got, an hour and a half before kickoff.
Yeah.
Mm.
My uh offensive player of the game, Jason Brown.
Okay.
Jason
Defense.
Brown. Man, I got to go with my man Hazel. Got to, man. Gotta go with him. I mean, he's that guy. He is that guy. I mean, he's him. And I think he will be, if he can get into some of these all-star games, people gonna see.
Right. He's as advertised.
And my prediction score: Jackson State 31, Texas State 23.
Okay. Um, so offensively, I'm gonna go with Seven McGee. he's due for a breakout. Yes, Mr. Jones, we'll be having a live chat starting at, it'll be 7:15 Central, 8:15 Eastern time. I'll start my live chat for the Texas State versus Jackson State game. 9 times out of 10, it just depends on how it goes, but 9 times out of 10, that will be a silent live with Rob J. It depends on how it is this week. Last week, Rob J wasn't meshing really well. Sometimes I can get it to where Rob J is announcing the game and it goes right in line with the stream. So I just put him on there because he's more animated and I just like the way he calls the game.
Yep.
We'll just have to see.
Awesome.
Huh? What'd you say, Mr. Walker?
He's awesome.
Absolutely.
He's awesome.
I love it. And I was so upset because I didn't have it lined up for when Gerardo Baeza missed that field goal. And I know he said something smart.
Oh, of course he did. Of course he did.
Said something smart. And I missed it. But I'm hoping that I'll be able to mesh it. It was too far behind. So then it was kind of messing it up because folks in the chat wanted to say, oh my God, touchdown. And, they couldn't do it. So hopefully today the stream will be in line so that it's not too far off from Rob J's and we'll be able to listen to him call the game. It's going to be a great night. I am confident that our Jackson State defense and offense is going to come to play the last game before our first home gaming. So hopefully that Seven McGee might not be playing. Why would he not be playing? I saw Seven McGee in the video. On the video to get on the bus. I don't know. I didn't hear that one.
Nah, I didn't either. I think he's playing.
I saw him getting on the bus.
Yeah, I saw him getting on the bus too.
And then, so
I think he's due for. I agree. He's due for a great.
Hold him back like Travis Hunter. I'm not against it. Get 100% before you just come out willy nilly. If you're not 100%,
it's just something to me telling me that Jason Brown knows that there's going to be some scouts there. I think he's coming to play. I think he's coming to play. Not only just
that, but like I said, it's the revamp of Jason Brown versus TJ Finley. I'm pretty sure that they're actually
he beat him before.
Some in the commentary, like if you're listening to ESPN and they're talking about the game, they're definitely going to bring up the fact that Jason Brown and TJ Finley went to bat while TJ Finley was at Auburn and while Jason Brown was out South Carolina. This particular game was actually huge because the winner of that game got to go to postseason play.
Yeah. And, if we can feature Seven and especially Hunt, because, Rico Powers, that's our, that's that Antonio Brown type, that's that type of guy. So he's going to get his. But if we can get the ball, I've been screaming this and yelling this for the last since I first saw him. If we can get Hunt the ball, I'll just say on the low end 5 times, but on the top end 10 times, that's 3 touchdowns easily. Speed alone, agility alone, size alone. Because if you get him in space, who's gonna catch him?
We got McCorley too. Let me see. I have the heights of some of our wide receivers. It's ridiculous. Isaiah Spencer, he's been playing on special teams the first week, and then I think they put him up. They kind of took him off special teams and let him play like up in the.
And another thing, I don't know why we don't use Fortillia as much. We need to start using him.
I have not seen him.
He is hella athletic. Because I was watching some of them videos That boy was doing 360s between the lit. Man, just go to some of them when they playing basketball. He and Seven, they were
Mm-hmm.
running the court.
Mm-hmm.
Fortillion and Seven were running the court. I'm talking about throwing it out the backboard, uh, backwards. I mean, just all kind of stuff. So, the athleticism is there. I would use him, kind of like because he's a big guy. So I would
Right.
just use him I'll use him in the slot. I'd be dirty with it. Like, okay, cover that then in the slot.
Right.
Let's see what you're gonna do with that. That's what I would
Once,
do.
I mean, there's so many weapons. I think that we'll be able to really turn it up once we get to the SWAC. Because once you get to the SWAC, you're you're able to really turn it up a notch. Like you said, maybe they are um hiding a bird in the bush or something like that we don't know
Hmm.
about, hasn't came out yet.
Hmm.
Um,
I think
think
so.
that
Because
they're
I
gonna
mean, because see, Texas State gonna try to, what they're gonna try to do, they're gonna try to play the short game with us. And they're gonna try to maneuver Jackson State short passing game. But I mean, that's where Hunt comes in, and that's where Rico. Well, Rico he gonna already be there, but that's where Hunt comes in, and I go over the top because Jason Brown can hit him. He definitely can hit him. He definitely can hit him,
um so
and that's why I say go through the seam. That's why you go with the seam. Use the seam to your advantage because I feel like they're gonna try to take that short game away. I feel something telling me that they are,
I mean,
but
that's where actually TJ Finley has a intermediate game as well. So I think
hmm
both of them are going to be trying to tackle that, which is why I said that it might be defensive heavy, just because they're going to try to take that away. Um,
hmm I agree.
they kind of
I agree.
highlighted that Jason Brown was making a lot of short intermediate passes, but if he needed to air it out, he was getting comfortable enough and he was airing it out. Um,
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
it'll be interesting to see. Of course, the run game will come into play at that point, or the
Oh
tight
yeah.
ends come into play at that
Yeah,
point.
we're gonna be able to run the ball. We'll be able to run the ball on those guys.
What I don't want to see, which I don't think will happen, is North Carolina Central is up here at UCLA, and they're just getting. It's not even fair. It's just
Yeah, they got that fire. They got that young man. He was top 5 QBs coming out. That Dante Moore guy. I mean, he's a real deal. He came out in that class with you had Peyton Manning nephew. You had the guy. You had him. You had the guy that supposedly had gone to Florida, but Florida didn't want to give him the NIL money what he requested. Then he went to Arizona State. You got him. And then you got the freshman guy from University of Tennessee. So those
oh,
were the top. Those were the top dogs. So I'm not shocked with that because that Dante Moore is a dog. He's a certified dog.
I just
I
don't
watch
feel
him.
like it's
Yeah.
it's necessary for us to take part. If you're going to play if you're going to play an FBS team, play lower level FBS teams. There's nothing wrong with playing. I could see where you're competitive at, but for me,
Hmm.
it's not something that anybody would want to watch, which is a complete annihilation of anything. It's not worth it.
Hmm.
You're just basically watching the number one. It's supposed to be the number one ranked HBCU, right? And you're just
Right.
getting clobbered by UCLA, and it's kind of
Right.
like you could have done the same thing playing a Texas State or a ULM. If you want to play an FBS team, play one of
Right.
those.
I agree. I agree. I
So
agree.
we
And
should
then
talk
the
about it
thing
back.
about it is with travel, I'm just wondering,
I think
really,
it
in
says
my
they
mind, I'm
gave
wondering how
her.
much they're clearing from that game because
I, I think they
that would
gave
be a
them
lot of
seven
travel
hundred
expenses.
thousand. They gave them 700,000.
It's not bad. Not bad
Seven
at all.
hundred thousand. I think they got
It's
seven
not
hundred
bad.
thousand.
So they should clear. They should clear about 400 of that. So that's good.
But you could make 400,000
At home,
playing
yeah.
home with Jackson State. I don't know if they would be able to clear 400,000 with well, their stadium holds 10,000, and if they do $30 tickets, that's 300,000, and then you just need to concessions, parking, and tailgating. You can possibly, it's just better for North Carolina Central to schedule home and home with rivalries and get somebody to sponsor the game and tell them you give me 50,000 and you give me 50,000. This right here, it's not a display of anything. Like,
Oh, I'm finally reading the comments now, catching up.
especially,
Put Ed on. Put Ed on.
huh?
Put Ed on. Drop the link for Ed. Mr.
Oh, okay.
Ed.
It
Let's
said
talk football, man.
reports. They don't put out injury reports. They started Dante Morton on purpose. He hasn't played all season. I mean, when you're going against North Carolina Central, and that's no diss to North Carolina Central, but to my point, which is why I did not, and then all three of these games that they've went through are not good indicators for how good North Carolina Central is this year. They played Winston-Salem State, which is a D2 school that hasn't been good in years. Then they go and play North Carolina A&T, who fired their coach late and was recruiting late. Then they go to UCLA and they get blown out. We don't have a true indicator of how good North Carolina Central is. And this didn't do them no type of favors. So Jackson State, I need y'all to come to play. We need an upset alert. If we upset Texas State, we are automatically the number one HBCU in my poll next week. Because FAMU plays a D2 school today, West Florida. So they get dropped. Moultrie might have a big game. Absolutely, Bayless. Moultrie came out like a thief in the night. Does Mr. Campbell want to put out his injury report? Because according to my sources, 2 of the starting offensive linemen are injured. Have you heard that? Mr. Walker? Let me see if Mr. Campbell will come on. I was told that the 5-star offensive lineman is injured, and there's another starting offensive lineman for FAMU that is questionable for this particular game. I don't know if he wants to come out here or not and speak to that. That is absolutely correct.
Yes, I heard that. I'm sorry, I'm pressing the wrong button. Yeah, I heard that
That's
as well.
5-star. That's the 5-star that was causing problems for Jackson State.
Mm-hmm. 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 I agree. It caused major problems. Major problems. Very
I had
athletic.
some folks questioning whether or not FAMU was going to beat West Florida. And I thought that was a stupid take because, number one, Florida A&M's at home. I don't think they've lost a home game in like at least a minimum of 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, you come to brag. I mean, you're gonna have to play. You're gonna have to play because
I
they have
don't know. I wonder if
they have
Bragg
a
is different than Southern. Southern is probably the most hostile environment I know of.
Oh yeah, it's hostile, but nah, with FAMU plays at Bragg, they have like a different energy. You know, they really come to play at Bragg. You know, it's kind of like, like a Jackson State at the vet. You know, like, come on. You know, you come to the vet, it's gonna be some problems. You know, you go to Bragg, it's gonna be some problems. You better be on your A game. But with Southern, yeah, it's a hostile environment, but like
we
I
was over
stated
there
before the
throwing it.
season. I mean, I tried to tell you that
You guys,
Southern is not as good as they were saying. I mean, I know I said that several times.
and I
Although
didn't bring up
I
that
know I
whole
got a lot of backlash when I stated that.
Coach Green was hot. 90, he was hot when you were saying that Southern is not as advertised.
Yeah, and
You
it's
tried to
so
tell
crazy.
them. You was like, I've seen them in person and they're lacking in X, Y, and Z, and you try to tell them.
And then, first of all, I was lying, and then I'm sitting up here like, dude. And what's so bad about it was, answer me this: the guys that I named that were good from Southern, didn't they show up against Jackson State? I said the Carter guy. I know I said that.
Mm-hmm.
The DB. I said
Right,
that. I
right, and
also said
that's probably one of
that
the.
they didn't have any great receivers. I also said that Blood wasn't it. I also said that they have a stable of running backs. I know I said this stuff, but I also said that Southern is not as good as what people think they are. I know I said that. So I mean, I try to tell them. So it is what it is. They got their back blown out, and they better hope that they better try to stop Maynard today from running up the scoreboard on them.
Oh,
He's gonna try to run up the scoreboard on them. So you better, he better,
I
they
just had
better,
I just
they,
had a Maynard. I hope don't nobody get
and then they talking about they got
like
transfers from New Mexico State. I'm like, them sorry bunch of dudes, that's all. But okay. It's a difference between getting a guy that actually touched the field than a guy that was either a gray shirt or a walk-on. You see what I'm saying? Like,
right.
you can go to Ole Miss and be a walk-on or a gray shirt or something like that.
I mean,
But
one of
are
the
you a
biggest
contributor though?
right, one of the biggest running backs actually, which I had cited, was Carl Ligon, and he actually, for whatever reason, is not playing this season. That was one of their biggest running backs that they had on the roster. And we were talking about how their offensive line and defensive line, a lot of folks exited stage left at the end. And just like Ed is saying, Southern fans told them that it didn't matter. Listen, every week, from week to week, you're going to have some people who said something. And when it's time to call the bluff, it's what? But you said this and this happened.
It happened. I mean, I saw him, and like I said, I just wasn't impressed. Like I said, now that Jordan Carter, that guy, I think he has, even if it's not NFL, but he will make one of those other leagues like the XFL, the US, because we got several leagues now. But he does have that type of talent. But like I said, linebackers weak. They was talking about this strong defensive line. I was like, no, we must not be talking about the same team. And we saw that no, it wasn't. Like, and they were
Oh
talking
my
about
goodness.
they got offensive weapons. I was like, no, you have a great running back stable.
Right,
Notice I didn't waver off of that. I
right.
know what I saw, and I was just like, no, they don't
That
have no
ain't what I'm
receivers like
seeing.
what they was talking about. No, because Petrie has been there for years, but Petrie is just he's a big body, and you could tell whoever they wide receiver. And I kind of fought that on the wide receivers coach as well as the OC. A guy with a big guy like that, they should feature him more
Mm-hmm.
because he is a matchup problem. But if he's not being featured, but I think one of the flaws that I see with Petrie is when they actually throw it to him and he might get a drop sometime. It's not because he has butterfinger, it's because he's frustrated. See, a
Right.
lot of times you like, oh damn, not a ball coming to me. And it just catches you
Mm-hmm.
off guard. So
Right.
you have to know that you have to understand, the way you do, you know, how you can pick up the nuances of the game. And I
Right.
just think Dooley just doesn't have the talent that
So are they
he
going to give him a pass, or if he loses to Grambling, is he gone?
I mean, I think they should because that's $900,000. You know,
I mean, to
I
not to
understand
this
they
point,
saying,
I
you
feel
know,
like
Southern big money, but 900,000 is
that's a tall
900,000.
order. Right.
Yeah, that's you know, that's 900,000. I mean, it is what it is. I get it, you know, big money, whatever. I get that, but don't let these crazy zealous fans hype you up to cut a check for almost a big ticket. That's dumb.
Right. Especially when, I don't
That would
know.
be
For
dumb as
me,
hell.
I feel like you should definitely give any coach, especially coming up off of the COVID time frame, 3 years, right? I
Yeah,
think.
I think so. I just think this just happens to be this going to happen to be, well, it's still a long season, but it just happened to be this may be his down year. So, but last year he backdoored into the SWAC championship. The year
And then
before
just to keeping it
he
a
took
buck,
Prairie View there.
they've been not, I'm not trying to downplay or talk about anybody, but I feel like maybe it might be the schedules that they're doing. But so far, I haven't seen anything spectacular from the teams out of the West.
Oh, they're going. I mean, the West is, you
Come
know,
close
they're
my door, Braxton.
yeah,
Come close the door.
uh, the West is, you know, they're pretty weak over there.
I thought, like, I was expecting to
It's
see,
like a pot of jambalaya over there.
I was expecting to see Alcorn, their quarterback that they've been speaking so highly of.
I spoke highly of him, but you know, I guess it was because his dual threat ability. But you know, I just think that since Coach McNair is a bona fide QB whisperer, just teach the man how to throw short game, and he will be fine. You know, but
Coach, he's not going to be here after this season. They said he's not renewing it.
I mean, you know, Alcon is still on a high, you know, from, you know, the Jay Hobson effect. You know, they still on a high from that. So, you know, the expectations that, you know, are there, you know, they even still try to talk tough Jackson State talk. You know, this was a team in the SWAC that went 0-11 in an entire season in the 2000 ran. You know, not year 2000, but during that ran that 20-year period. So, you know, they still talk tough. You know, that's just Alcorn. They're gonna do that. But you know, if my team in the past was 0-11, I would really shut up and just be thankful that you know that the football gods gave me like 3 or 4 championships, SWAC championships, because that 0-11 that year, that was embarrassing. I
When
mean,
was that? What year was that?
it had to be in 02, 03. Chat, look it up.
Oh Lord, Southern done
It had to
already
be.
scored. Southern done already scored on Alabama A&M.
I forgot. Chat answer that for me. Yeah, like I said, I do remember them going there.
Good
I do
Lord.
remember. It had to be. I can't remember when, but it was in the 2000s brand. I do remember. Yeah, they went 0-11, lost all 11. It was pretty sorry.
It looked like after Southern got they behind whooped by Jackson State, they done came to play. Quincy Casey, I'm not Quincy Casey. I didn't even know Quincy Casey. Wow. So I don't have necessarily a link, but wow. I'm gonna go ahead and get up off of here. Everybody, you guys can go ahead and return back here. Now I only have an hour. So in 1 hour at 8:15, you guys can return back to my channel. We'll be having a live chat with a silent broadcast of the game with Rob J commentating. Please don't ask me about why the stream is silent. It's silent because I'm not trying to get my YouTube flagged. So if you would like to come on over here. I actually want Alabama A&M to win. I need Alabama A&M to win. FAMU upset alert. What you mean upset? Y'all need to post before we get off. I was trying to go on the SWAC website. Is there a place where all of the SWAC teams are updating? I need to look at this. This is preposterous. FAMU cannot be losing. Oh no, West Florida and Florida A&M are tied 3-3. Lord have mercy. Rice scored 7 on Texas Southern. Miles, thank God, Miles is not beating. Let me go ahead and share this screen. I got it. Thank you. Let me see. Y'all, my heart can't take it. So if you are playing against Jackson State, I absolutely want you to lose, and I want you to lose by 40. But if you are a SWAC school and you're playing against another school, especially if you're playing a D2 school, you have to dominate. Florida A&M being this close of a game, and it's the second quarter, this is not good. It's not. It's just not. So I'm hoping that where's Alcorn at? Let me see if I see them. They're not on there? Oh, sorry. So Florida Memorial, thank God they lost. Ooh, look at Hampton and Howard. Hampton and Howard, 35 Hampton, Howard 34. Everybody that was in the polls, in the top of the polls this past week, they all falling out. Ain't no top 10 no more. Ain't no top 10. We're going to start at 10, and we're going to go from 10 to 20. So Grambling won. I would have liked to have seen them hold Florida Memorial to 1 touchdown, but that's okay, I guess. Hampton and Howard in a huge battle. 30. Hampton is up 35-34, and I don't know who has the ball. That's a close game. But I will see you guys back in an hour. I'm gonna take my little break. See y'all back 1 hour, y'all, till kickoff. And because I'm doing my game, so if you want to brag about Jackson State losing, then y'all gonna have to come on the stream when Jackson State is losing, because 9 times out of 10, I'm not doing a post show. This game will be from 8 to probably 10:30, 11. After that, I'm not doing a post show. So if Jackson State is losing and you want to come over there, come on my show and brag about it, be here in the fourth quarter, because I personally am not doing a post show until possibly maybe Tuesday. Maybe. All right. See y'all in an hour.